Most Americans don't know the Cherokee once ruled 140,000 square miles, built cities like Tanasi and Chota, and developed an 85-character writing system before Sequoyah vanished into Mexico. From secret treaties promising 100,000 acres to legends of moon-eyed builders, these 12 mysteries hide in archives, lake bottoms, and memory. Stay, because their stories rewrite history itself. Chapter 1. What happened to the lost Cherokee scripts that no one can find? Imagine a written language born from one man's vision, an 85-character syllabary so effective that within a decade, thousands of Cherokee could read and write their own words. In 1821, Sequoyah unveiled his creation. Missionaries and officials were astonished, but rumors quickly spread that Sequoyah didn't stop there. Missionary letters from the 1820s mention another set of characters, reportedly reserved for sacred or governmental use. One letter from Reverend Samuel Worcester in 1824 described peculiar signs traced on bark scrolls, which Sequoyah would not translate for any white man. Some scholars believe this was a second secret script, possibly an extension of the syllabary meant to encode ritual knowledge. After the Trail of Tears began in 1838, many records were deliberately hidden or destroyed to protect them from soldiers. An 1840 inventory of Cherokee property lists bundles of written bark, but they were never recovered. Other stories claim Sequoyah carried master copies when he traveled to Mexico in the 1840s. When Sequoyah died in 1843, those papers disappeared. Some historians think they were lost in the confusion. Others suspect they were stolen or hidden to keep them from missionaries determined to suppress traditional knowledge. If the lost script is ever found, it could transform our understanding of Cherokee intellectual history, proof that their literacy was even more advanced than scholars believe. Stay with me, because the next story takes us to Tanasi, a town so important it lent its name to Tennessee, yet vanished without a trace. Chapter 2. Where did Tanasi, the vanished Cherokee capital, really go? Tanasi wasn't just another village. It was the heart of Cherokee diplomacy and culture. British traders first recorded it in 1725, describing a bustling settlement with over 60 houses, council buildings, and storehouses filled with corn. By 1761, British military maps labeled it the de facto capital of the Overhill Cherokee. Tanasi sat on the Little Tennessee River, commanding trade routes stretching hundreds of miles. It was here that emissaries from Virginia, South Carolina, and Georgia negotiated alliances and trade agreements. Some even called it the Cherokee London. Yet by 1800, Tanasi disappeared from the records almost overnight. Historians still debate why. Some blame epidemics. Smallpox outbreaks in 1738 and 1753 killed an estimated 50% of Cherokee populations in some areas. Others point to political shifts after the rise of Chota, which replaced Tanasi as the main council town. When the Tennessee Valley Authority built Tellico Dam in the 1970s, the original site of Tanasi was flooded under Tellico Lake. Archaeologists worked against the clock, excavating burials and pottery fragments before the waters rose. Yet locals insist entire sections of the town remain intact underwater. Divers in the 1990s reported seeing stone foundations and pottery shards beneath silt. If verified, these submerged ruins could be among the best preserved Cherokee archaeological sites in America. Next, we'll meet the Raven Scouts, phantom warriors whose midnight raids terrified enemies and inspired stories that blurred the line between legend and fact. Chapter 3. Did the Raven Scouts actually exist, or are they just legend? In the shadows of the Appalachian forests, some enemies claimed they saw figures moving silently, draped in black feathers. They called them the Raven Scouts, an elite Cherokee warrior society so skilled that British commanders compared them to ghosts. References to the Ravens appear sporadically in 18th century British military journals. Lieutenant Henry Timberlake's memoirs from 1762 mention a party of Cherokee night warriors wearing the plumage of the raven to strike terror. Another colonial report in 1759 described raids where not a footstep nor a torch was glimpsed before the attack. Oral histories say the Ravens operated as a reconnaissance unit. Their mission was twofold: gather intelligence and carry out swift retaliatory strikes when treaties were broken. Estimates suggest the group never numbered more than 30 men, each selected for exceptional endurance and skill. They trained to move silently for days, living off roots, berries, and game. In warfare, Raven Scouts served as advance guards, sometimes infiltrating enemy camps hours before dawn attacks. Captured Creeks spoke of warriors who materialized from darkness, killed sentries, and vanished without a trace. After 1800, references to the Ravens fade, likely as Cherokee warfare shifted under U.S. pressure. Some historians believe the stories were exaggerated to intimidate colonists, but others argue that the Ravens were real and among the most effective special forces of their time. Next, we'll travel to Murphy, North Carolina, where carved stone tablets, possibly an ancient Cherokee code, vanished mysteriously, sparking debate that continues to this day. Chapter 4. What secrets were etched on the lost stone tablets of Murphy, North Carolina? In 1890, farmers plowing a field near Murphy, North Carolina, unearthed something astonishing. 3 large stone slabs covered in carvings no one could read. Local newspapers quickly proclaimed them Cherokee law tablets, possibly older than the oldest treaties. Eyewitness accounts said the slabs were each about 3 feet wide and 4 inches thick, with symbols arranged in careful rows. Some markings looked similar to Sequoyah's syllabary, but others didn't match any known script. An 1891 article in the Asheville Citizen described strange bird and serpent shapes that may tell of ancient rituals. For a time, the tablets were stored in a church basement. Then almost overnight, they disappeared. Some locals claimed missionaries destroyed them, fearing they contained heathen records. Others believe private collectors quietly bought the artifacts. No photos or rubbings have ever surfaced, fueling speculation they were hoaxes or deliberate forgeries. Yet Cherokee oral tradition does reference carved stones used for record-keeping long before European contact. Early colonial traders also described painted and carved boulders, marking boundaries and burial grounds. Archaeologists remain divided. Some argue the tablets were authentic and could have been the only surviving examples of pre-contact Cherokee legal codes. If rediscovered, they might confirm that the Cherokee maintained complex written records centuries before Sequoyah's syllabary. Next, we'll explore the Battle of Talawa, a conflict where legend says 1,000 warriors died, but historians still debate whether the massacre ever happened at all. Chapter 5. How could the Battle of Talawa vanish from the archaeological record? The Battle of Talawa, fought in 1755, was described as one of the bloodiest clashes between the Cherokee and the Creek. Cherokee oral histories claim the Creeks attacked to reclaim disputed hunting grounds in northern Georgia. Some say 1,000 Creek warriors died, a staggering figure that would make Talawa among the largest battles in southeastern history. But here's the mystery. British records from the same period mention the conflict only briefly and list 50 casualties total. No mass graves have been definitively found. No battlefield artifacts, musket balls, arrowheads, camp remains have been conclusively linked to the site near Ball Ground, Georgia. According to tradition, a Cherokee woman named Nancy Ward played a decisive role. She took up her slain husband's weapon mid-battle, rallied the Cherokee line, and drove the Creeks into retreat. Nancy later became a beloved woman, or Gigao, a title granting her the power to spare prisoners and speak in councils. The story became central to Cherokee identity, yet historians still question whether the scale was exaggerated to honor Ward's legacy. The Georgia Historical Society has documented at least 17 conflicting versions of the battle since the 1800s. In 2006, archaeological surveys using ground-penetrating radar revealed signs of disturbance, ditches and burned soil layers, but no definitive evidence of a mass casualty site has surfaced. If the truth is ever proven, Talawa could finally be recognized as a critical turning point in Cherokee Creek relations. Next, we'll uncover the hidden network of Cherokee roads, trade arteries that stretched over 600 miles and still lie beneath southern forests. Chapter 6. Could ancient Cherokee roads stretch farther than any colonial map shows? Long before European settlers arrived, the Cherokee built an extensive system of roads linking towns, trade hubs, and sacred sites. Colonial traders called it the Great Trading Path. But for the Cherokee, these trails were lifelines. By the early 1700s, maps documented the main route running from the Carolina Piedmont to the Tennessee River Valley. One branch extended south into Georgia, covering more than 600 miles of rugged terrain. Spanish explorer Juan Pardo's journals from 1567 mention following well-worn paths he believed were centuries old. These roads weren't simple footpaths. Some were wide enough for horse caravans. Surveyors in the 1800s measured certain segments at 12 feet across, lined with packed clay and timber reinforcements. Cherokee guides charged British traders tolls in goods or silver to use them safely. Historians believe the network was used for commerce, diplomacy, and seasonal migration. Artifacts found along the routes, shell gorgets, copper tools, soapstone pipes, suggest trade connections reaching as far as the Gulf Coast and Great Lakes. In 2020, LiDAR scans conducted by researchers at the University of Georgia revealed parallel berms and ditch lines hidden under dense forests, confirming the road's scale. Some sections were buried under modern highways, but others remain untouched, potentially preserving clues about how the Cherokee moved people and goods across their vast territory. If fully mapped, these roads could transform our understanding of southeastern trade networks and prove that the Cherokee infrastructure rivaled anything built by early European colonists. Next, we'll unravel the story of a lost treaty from 1794, a document some believe promised the Cherokee sovereignty forever. Chapter 7. Did the lost 1794 treaty promise the Cherokee sovereignty forever? In the aftermath of the American Revolution, the young United States was desperate to avoid another costly frontier war. So in 1794, U.S. commissioners met with Cherokee leaders to negotiate what some claim was an unprecedented promise: permanent sovereignty over their homelands. Correspondence between Indian agent Benjamin Hawkins and Secretary of War Henry Knox references a supplemental treaty drafted alongside the Treaty of Tellico Blockhouse. Hawkins wrote in a letter dated December 1794, "The chiefs are resolved, and we have made assurances that their autonomy will be respected without end." Yet no signed copy of this supplemental treaty has ever been found. Official archives in Washington and Georgia are silent. Some historians believe the document was deliberately buried as land pressures mounted. Estimates suggest the treaty would have protected nearly 100,000 acres of Cherokee territory along the Little Tennessee River, an area later seized by settlers despite protest. Oral traditions record that elders believed this agreement was their final safeguard against removal. When Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act in 1830, Cherokee leaders cited the lost treaty in their legal defense, arguing the government was violating a sacred promise. But without the document, their claims were dismissed in U.S. courts. If a copy ever emerges, hidden in a private collection or European archive, it could fundamentally reshape legal battles over Cherokee sovereignty and reparations. Next, we'll explore the Mooneyed people, a legend of pale-skinned builders whose stone forts still stand in Georgia, fueling debate over pre-Columbian contact. Chapter 8. Who were the Mooneyed people in Cherokee lore? Among the most enduring Cherokee legends is the tale of the Mooneyed people, a mysterious, pale-skinned race said to have lived in Appalachia before the Cherokee arrived. According to oral histories, they were nocturnal, building stone fortifications and avoiding daylight because it blinded them. The first written account appeared in 1797, when naturalist Benjamin Smith Barton described the Mooneyed people in his book, New Views of the Origin of the Tribes and Nations of America. He claimed the Cherokee told him these ancient inhabitants were driven south to Florida. One of the most famous sites linked to the legend is Fort Mountain in northern Georgia. There, an ancient stone wall, 855 feet long and up to 7 feet high, winds across the mountain crest. Archaeologists have dated sections to 500 to 1500 CE, but no consensus exists on who built it. Some researchers propose the walls were ceremonial enclosures created by the Creek or early Mississippian cultures. Others speculate they are remnants of pre-Columbian European explorers, possibly Welsh settlers, inspired by 16th century tales of Prince Madoc. Cherokee elders maintain that the Mooneyed people were real, describing them as small, white, and unable to see in the day. yet no skeletal evidence has ever confirmed their existence. Still, the legend persists, fueled by colonial reports, stone ruins, and Cherokee oral tradition that refuses to fade. Next, we'll uncover the story of the Ani Kutani priests, an elite class so reviled that the Cherokee rose up and annihilated them forever. Chapter 9. Were the Ani Kutani priests real, and why did the Cherokee destroy them? Long before Europeans arrived, Cherokee oral tradition tells of the Ani Kutani, a secretive priesthood who held immense power over religious and political life. According to legend, the Ani Kutani controlled ceremonies, interpreted omens, and collected tributes from every town. Some say they ruled for hundreds of years. John Howard Payne, a 19th century ethnographer, compiled Cherokee testimonies describing how the Ani Kutani's corruption sparked a revolution. The priests allegedly demanded tributes so burdensome that families starved. The breaking point came when an Ani Kutani leader claimed a right to claim any woman for ritual purposes. One night, warriors from multiple clans rose up. The priests were hunted down and killed in a coordinated purge. Afterward, their lodges were burned and their sacred objects buried or destroyed. This event became known as the Great Cleansing, forever ending priestly dominance. Historians still debate whether the Ani Kutani were a real caste or a cautionary myth about power. No archaeological site has definitively linked ceremonial structures to this priesthood, but in 1835, a Cherokee informant told Payne, "They were not spirits. They were men who forgot themselves, and so we removed them." Some anthropologists see the story as evidence of a theocracy predating European contact, possibly similar to Mississippian mound-building priesthoods. Others argue it reflects Cherokee values of egalitarianism and suspicion of centralized authority. Next, we'll explore how Cherokee astronomers tracked the heavens with lunar calendars, and whether they predicted eclipses centuries before modern science. Chapter 10. Did Cherokee astronomers map the skies before Europeans arrived? Long before telescopes, Cherokee sky watchers tracked the movements of the sun, moon, and stars with astonishing accuracy. Missionaries in the 1830s were startled to find elders using lunar calendars carved into sticks and animal hides to predict the timing of ceremonies and plantings. One of the most famous examples was the green corn ceremony, a summer event that began on the first new moon after the solstice. Timekeeping was precise. The calendar sticks contained rows of notches marking each day of the lunar cycle, totaling 354 days, almost exactly matching the lunar year. In 1824, missionary Samuel Worcester described seeing carefully notched sticks with every moon and sign, used to decide when to start festivals or travel to trade gatherings. He recorded that Cherokee timekeepers could accurately predict eclipses, though how they did so remains unclear. Many of these calendars were burned or confiscated during the Trail of Tears in the 1830s. A few survived in private collections. Fragments preserved in the Smithsonian and the Gilcrease Museum show painted symbols, circles, crescents, dots, aligned in complex sequences. Recent researchers have compared these markings to astronomical tables from Mesoamerica, speculating that knowledge traveled north through trade networks over centuries. Cherokee oral tradition held that lunar and solar cycles were the blueprint for life. One elder told an ethnographer in 1889, "The sun is our grandfather, the moon our grandmother. Together they teach us to count the days." Next, we'll descend into the waters of Tellico Lake, where the capital of Chota and untold artifacts still lie hidden beneath the silt. Chapter 11. What still lies beneath the waters of Chota, the mother town? Before the TVA Dam swallowed the valley, Chota stood as the Cherokee's spiritual heart for over 200 years. European maps from 1725 label Chota as the mother town, a title reflecting its role in diplomacy, ritual, and governance. At its peak, Chota held 200-plus dwellings, large council houses, and sacred townhouse mounds where elders convened. Here, treaties were signed and war councils declared. In 1761, British officer Henry Timberlake visited Chota and noted its formidable size and influence, describing great houses capable of holding hundreds. But the march of American progress would not spare this heritage. When the Tennessee Valley Authority planned Tellico Dam in the 1970s, archaeologists rushed to excavate before rising waters erased everything. Over 400 burials were uncovered, along with thousands of artifacts, trade beads, copper gorgets, musket parts, and painted pottery. Yet even with emergency digs, vast sections of Chota were left intact beneath what became Tellico Lake. Local divers have reported seeing stone foundation outlines and carved posts under silt layers. One diver in 1995 described walls as tall as a man still standing in the darkness. Today, only a reconstructed townhouse and a commemorative plaque remain on the shoreline. But many believe much of Chota still waits, sealed beneath the cold water, an American Atlantis holding secrets no one has yet dared to recover. Next, we'll follow the trail of Sequoyah's lost manuscripts, rumored to have vanished in Mexico after his death. Chapter 12. Where did Sequoyah's missing manuscripts go? When Sequoyah completed his syllabary in 1821, it transformed the Cherokee Nation overnight. Within a decade, thousands could read and write in their own language, a literacy rate surpassing most U.S. states. But by the 1840s, Sequoyah embarked on a final journey that would end in mystery. Driven by rumors that a Cherokee remnant had settled in Mexico, he traveled south to reunite them with their eastern kin. Witnesses recorded that Sequoyah carried his most prized possession, a bundle of papers containing the master copy of his syllabary, along with additional symbols he intended to standardize for legal documents. He arrived in the Mexican state of Coahuila in 1842 but died soon after, reportedly of pneumonia. After his death, his manuscripts disappeared. Some accounts suggest they were buried with him in an unmarked grave. Others claim Mexican officials seized them, believing they were coded messages related to regional rebellions. In 1903, an American anthropologist named James Mooneyed searched archives in Mexico City but found no trace. Cherokee tradition holds that a portion of Sequoyah's notes survived, possibly hidden in private collections or lost in church storerooms. If these manuscripts were found today, they could reveal Sequoyah's final refinements to the syllabary and perhaps even the rumored second script used for sacred matters. Over 180 years later, their fate remains unsolved. If these mysteries amazed you, subscribe now to uncover more hidden histories. And don't miss our last episode, 10 crazy Native American rituals so intense they're hard to believe.